was the consensus of archaeologists that no megalithic architecture had been found anywhere in the world that was more than 6,000 years old. They said, show us another culture that's 12,000 years old anywhere in the world, and we might listen to you. Evidence from much earlier megalithic construction is hiding in plain view. Our understanding of prehistory must change.
Something weird is happening. And it is strange enough that scientists who once kept their eyes glued to Europe and maybe a few African regions have now packed their bags and turned all of a sudden toward Asia. And not just anywhere. China. Scientists have stormed the territories, discovering one mystery after another, and the list becomes endless sometimes because the more they see, the more they discover another. But while some are endlessly curious about this, others are terrified by what they have discovered. So the question remains, why? What did they discover that terrified them, and why are they terrified? Grab a snack as we explore what the scientists discovered that changed everything. The Zhejiang megalithic clusters. In the ancient city of Shaoxing, archaeologists and scientists are still trying to piece together an incredible puzzle that's been buried for over 2,000 years. Since 2020, they have been carefully brushing away the soil, bringing out the secrets of the mysterious Yue state, which was a kingdom that thrived before the mighty Qin dynasty united China. Now, imagine an ancient metropolis that spread across 7 square kilometers. That's like 1,000 football fields. This discovery has 3 star players: Tingshan, Nanshan, and Nanshan II. These sites are like chapters in a history book written in stone and soil. But here's where it gets very interesting. These ruins are neighbors with what's said to be the final resting place of Yu the Great, a legendary figure who might as well be the ancient superhero of China. We are referring to someone who, according to stories passed down through generations, created the Xia dynasty way back in the 21st century BC. We can think of it as a treasure hunt of architecture, where each shovel of dirt might reveal another piece of ancient China's story. The buildings they're finding are not just described as old stones, they're windows into a sophisticated form of civilization that existed before the popular Qin emperor united China. The top of Tingshan Mountain is the place archaeologists hit the jackpot. A huge layer of ancient buildings which is nearly 6 feet thick. It's like looking for a historical layer cake, with each level telling its own story of the past. Another interesting part of this discovery is that these researchers found what looks like an ancient port area. Picture merchants and officials moving about, ships coming and going, extremely loaded with exotic goods. They also revealed a discovery of ritual pits where ancient ceremonies once took place, complete with sacrificial offerings. Talk about a direct window into their spiritual lives. That's not all they discovered. They also uncovered the showstopper in the southern part of Tingshan, where they saw what must have been an absolutely magnificent building. The pillars still bear traces of intricate lacquer decorations, suggesting this wasn't just any old structure, but a grand ceremonial space where serious rituals took place. Over at the Nanshan site, things get even more fascinating. They found raised platform foundations that were like treasure chests of ancient life, which are packaged with pottery, metal items, early porcelain, and even preserved bamboo and wooden objects. It's just like opening a time capsule filled with snapshots of daily life from thousands of years ago. But here's the real kicker. Among the many discoveries were some truly royal treasures. Bronze weapons with actual inscriptions marking them as royal property. There was an inscribed spear, a dangerous dagger axe, and 7 swords. These were not just ordinary weapons, they were representations of power and authority in the ancient US state. They also went deeply and saw a veritable ancient menu through bone remains, consisting of local favorites like pigs, cattle, and deer, with a lot of freshwater fish. But the plot twist is the fact that they also found horse bones and tuna bones. Now, finding deep-sea fish remains here is like discovering sushi takeout in medieval Europe, which simply tells us these folks had some serious trading connections that reached far into the ocean. At Nanshan, they uncovered a tile that would make modern contractors whistle, a beast that is 19 inches long and 14 inches wide. This wasn't just any roof tile. It hinted at buildings that must have been absolutely massive in scale. Now, let's connect the dots. These three sites, Tingshan, Nanshantu, and Nanshan, were not just random neighborhoods. Think of them as the old equivalent of a capital city's downtown, government district, and their cultural center all rolled into one. The researchers are very confident that this was the heart of the Yue state's capital. The setting itself is fascinating. It is a landscape filled with mountains and seas, with rivers weaving through like nature's highways. It is like ancient feng shui coming to life. Since 2020, researchers have been carefully uncovering this 20,000 square meter historical puzzle, and that can be compared to about 5 football fields. This has been a captivating structure to all researchers, who are even more terrified by this. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. We have a lot to talk about as we explore other prehistoric structures and what scientists have to say about them. Let's dive into them quickly. The Jixia Imperial Tombs, nestled on a preluvial fan located at the eastern base of the Helan Mountains, the Yinchuan Tomb Complex in the Ningxia Hui Autonomous Region became the best preserved and largest archaeological site linked to the Jixia dynasty, which lasted from 1038 to 1227. This incredible site, which the Tangut people created, once served as the heart of a thriving empire that stretched over an impressive 1.15 million square kilometers at its peak. It spans an expansive area of 3,899 hectares. The property is a home to 9 grand imperial mausoleums, 271 additional tombs, 32 flood control structures, and a noteworthy architectural complex covering 5.03 hectares to the north. According to the committee, this complex gives a different glimpse into the grandeur of the Jixia dynasty and its imperial heritage, which highlights Jixia's vital role as a hub along the Silk Roads during the 11th to 13th centuries. The site showcases a blend of cultural innovation and fusion, born from the interplay of several ethnicities, traditions, and lifestyles in the agro-pastoral region between the Mongolian Plateau and the Qinghai Tibet Plateau, with the Ningxia Plain in northwestern China. This combination of cultures was no mere coincidence. It continued thriving during an era of cultural exchange and political tension in China from the 11th to the 13th centuries. At that time, the Song dynasty held sway over central and southern China, while the Khitan and Jurchen peoples established the Liao and Jin dynasties to the north, which created a grand landscape of both collaboration and rivalry. This originated from the vast Qinghai Tibet Plateau, and at the beginning, the Tangut people didn't have a tradition of building tombs, but they later embraced this practice, influenced by the agricultural civilizations of the Song and Tang dynasties, as explained by Du Jianlu, a history professor who specializes in Jixia at Ningxia University. According to him, this means that the Jixia imperial tombs are a product of cultural exchange. When they embodied elements from other cultures, the Jixia people also put their personal spin on things. For instance, their tombs follow the symmetrical layout common in China's Central Plains, but they also broke apart from tradition by arranging the sacrificial hall, the burial chamber, the mound above the tomb passage, and the pagoda along an unconventional, skewed alignment. Zheng Jun, a researcher at the China Academy of Cultural Heritage and a consultant for the International Council on Monuments and Sites, said, "The World Heritage Sites shaped by various ethnic groups in China, including the Jixia imperial tombs, represent a collective historical memory for the Chinese nation. They all demonstrate that Chinese civilization is the result of contributions from all the country's diverse ethnic groups. Official efforts to study and preserve this site started in the 1970s, and since 2012, China's National Cultural Heritage Administration has included the Jixia imperial tombs on its list for World Heritage status, and the local governments are working on developing a vast protective system and guidelines to make sure this important heritage site is effectively managed. There is still a lot to unravel, and what we are about to explore is one of the most beautiful walls in the world. Scientists also have one or two new things to say about it, as well as other similar structures. Let's get into it and unravel mysteries. Pre-Qin Great Wall Foundations. The Great Wall of China, which was constructed over 2,000 years ago, stands as an incredible example of ancient engineering prowess. It spans thousands of miles and served as an important barrier against foreign invaders for the newly unified nation. Before this iconic wall existed, however, a lot of Chinese dynasties constructed a series of rituals and fortifications for protection. In recent times, an American archaeologist started exploring one of the largest of these early structures. One of the researchers, named Gary Feynman, from the Field Museum of Chicago, didn't plan to reveal what he now refers to as the First Great Wall. On a routine casual walk through the Shandong province in eastern China, he was simply scanning the ground, as any dedicated archaeologist would, searching for small pottery fragments. 2 years back, Gary stumbled upon an impressive earthen wall that reached heights of up to 15 feet in certain areas. While some historians already knew about an ancient Great Wall in Shandong, which is believed to date back to around 500 BC, just before the construction of the Great Wall, what Gary discovered was a segment of this earlier fortification. In his words, by walking along this section, we've witnessed its remarkable design. It follows the higher ridges of the rugged mountains in eastern Shandong, and in its upper stretches, it's surprisingly well preserved. Basically, he has become more enthusiastic about the whole discourse, and he took on the task of mapping and tracing this wall, convinced that it could stretch for several hundred miles. He said, "No one has done this before. Nobody has tracked its winding path across such a vast area." The builders of this ancient wall utilized a method known as rammed earth. It looks like workers collected fine-grained soil from the lower elevations, bringing massive quantities up to the ridges. They would pile the dirt and then compact it until it was very hard, creating a structure strong enough to withstand 2,500 years of history. Constructing a wall of that scale over hundreds of miles required a lot of immense professional manpower. According to Gideon Shelach, who is an archaeologist at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, the leaders of the Qi dynasty, who supervised the wall's construction, had many workers to keep busy. Unlike the later Great Wall, built 300 years later, this Great Qi Wall was not designed to fend off foreign invaders. According to Gary, it served as a barrier between significant established states. During this era, some regional dynasties were bringing in increasingly large armies and were busy with constant warfare until a formidable leader named Qin Shi Huang intervened. Gideon states that he commanded an army of such incredible might that it ended the conflicts of the time. The army of Qin that conquered the other states fielded around 1.5 million soldiers fighting on various fronts for nearly a decade. In 221 BC, Qin Shi Huang brought unity to the regional states and established the Qin dynasty. His soldiers became the source of inspiration for the renowned terracotta warriors discovered in 1974, which were interred with Qin after his passing. Before his demise, Qin realized the fact that strong walls encourage good relations. He also started constructing another wall to the north, and this one was even larger than the Qi Wall, which became a part of the Great Wall that everyone talks about today. Gary also points out that there's a growing interest among the Chinese public in uncovering the earlier Qi Wall. However, the ongoing construction in rural China stands as a threat to its preservation. Interestingly, he observes that parts of the Qi Wall now serve as the foundation for dirt roads connecting communities, turning what was once a barrier into a bridge that brings people together. One would think you have explored all of them, but there is still more. There are these beautiful prehistoric stones that were hiding in one of the ancient towns in China until someone discovered them and showed them to the whole world. This got the scientists terrified and grinning, so let's dive into the details. Gobi Stones Circles. Since the discovery of these treasures in the Gobi Desert in 2003, around 200 enigmatic stone structures have left experts, researchers, and scientists puzzled. It was locally referred to as the strange stone circles in Turpan, and these formations come in a lot of sizes and shapes, with one very beautiful example, which looked like the sun. An expert has recently proposed the fact that these circles might have been used by ancient nomads for the worship of the sun, and may even have served as main sites for sacrifices, although the specific nature of those sacrifices remains vague. It is located in the flaming mountains of Turpan in northwestern China. These structures go through over 2.5 square miles, which is 6.6 square kilometers. A tourism association has attracted aerial footage of the circles using a drone, with the hope of gaining insights into their origins and significance, as reported by People's Daily Online. Some experts have noticed that the stone circles align with local historical traditions, yet a lot remains unknown about them, including their actual age. Some individuals started suspecting that these structures might be burial sites and attempted to excavate them. Interestingly, some similar formations have been discovered at Burkhan Khaldun Mountain in northern Mongolia, which led some archaeologists to suggest that these Mongolian stones could help in locating the first Khan of the Mongol Empire, Genghis Khan's tomb. Furthermore, Dr. Volker Heyde, a well-recognized archaeologist from the University of Bristol, shares this perspective about these stones. He stated to the media, "First and foremost, there's no doubt these are man-made structures. I've seen similar features in neighboring Mongolia, where they are also recognized as ritualistic sites. Some may have served as surface markers for burial locations. In Mongolia, more excavations have occasionally discovered graves at the center of similar structures." He said, "Others, or perhaps even most, could signify sacred sites in the landscape or areas with unique spiritual significance, serving as places for rituals and offerings." Volker further suggested that the origins of these Gobi stone structures might trace back as early as the Bronze Age, making them potentially 4,500 years old. However, he said that the more intricate formations are likely to be more recent, possibly constructed as late as the medieval period. On the contrary, a local specialist mentioned to Yahoo that this date is questionable due to the undisturbed soil beneath the structures. The stone formations are situated on elevated land, with some featuring square shapes and distinct exits. One notable example is the Sun Circle, formed by 4 concentric circles, the largest of which measures 26 feet, 8 meters, in diameter, while the smallest inner ring has unfortunately been destroyed. To the southeast of the Sun Circle, there are a lot of circles of varying sizes. Because of the special shape of this particular formation and the absence of bodies at the sites, another local researcher made a suggestion that these circles likely served as sacrificial worship sites for ancient nomadic peoples, even though he did not mention the kinds of sacrifices that may have taken place. He said, "Across Central Asia, these circles are often associated with sacrifice. We can imagine that this was a place for worshipping the sun god." In addition, he pointed out that the circles are positioned on elevated land, which aligned with the criteria often chosen for ancient worship ceremonies. The stone circles have some similarities to Stonehenge in Wiltshire, whose origins and purposes remain largely enigmatic. Some experts propose that it too was used for sun worship. But in a striking opposite, the stones at the site in China do not originate from the surrounding desert, which indicates that they were transported from distant locations, more like the famous blue stones of Stonehenge. The Sun Circle itself consists of more than 200 of these weird stones. They're not identical, but the intricate designs of these formations echo the mystery surrounding the geoglyphs in Peru. It is commonly known as the Nazca Lines, and they were first documented in 1939, when a pilot flew over the Nazca Plains in the Peruvian coastal highlands. Recently known as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1994, the area comprises over 50 miles, 80 kilometers, between the towns of Nazca and Palpa, situated about 400 kilometers south of Lima. This is different from the popular belief that the figures can only be seen and appreciated from the air. They are actually visible from the nearby foothills. A man named Paul Kosok from Long Island University is noticed as the first scholar to diligently investigate the Nazca Lines. He discovered that the lines come together at the winter solstice in the southern hemisphere. Along with the German mathematician and archaeologist named Maria Reicher, Paul proposed that these figures served as markers on the horizon, which show the rising points of the Sun and other celestial bodies. What do you think about what scientists have to say about China's prehistoric megastructures and unevacuated pyramids? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. To enjoy more exciting videos, click play on the video on your screen. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get notified when a new video drops.